Look, I won't beat around the bush. The first way most people tune their bass is they find a reference note, and then they loosen the strings and tighten them up one at a time until the notes match. But here's the problem. If you can't hear the difference between this note and this note, your ear might struggle to reliably get your bass in tune. Luckily, there's a better way to tune that's 100% reliable, even for fresh beginners, and in this video, I'll show you how to do it, plus everything else you need to know to get your bass in tune, so you don't sound bad, and you can impress people with how much you know about tuning. And look, I know you clicked on a tuning video, so you already know you're supposed to tune your bass by turning these knobby bits to make the strings sound the way they're supposed to sound. But you might not know why being out of tune is so devastating. Here's Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith, in tune, all is well. But put the vocals out of tune, or the guitar, or the bass, it's more like sour emotion. This is you when you try to play along with the tab out of tune. When you're in tune, you can play along to songs and jam with people, knowing that when you play a fret on a string, it makes the sound it's supposed to make. And you'd think that once you tune a bass, it would just kind of stay in tune, right? It's made out of wood and metal, 2 of the 5 Chinese elements. But it turns out there's actually a mess of things that can throw your bass out of tune every day. The temperature or humidity changes, causing the wood to expand or contract. New strings take time to stretch out. Tuners get bumped by the gig bag. Tuners get bumped by the ceiling fan. Tuners get bumped by siblings, kids, or very intelligent pets. So check your tuning every time you pick up your bass. Just do it. But one does not simply twist the knobs and trust your gut. You need a tuning method. And how do you know which one will work best for you? There are lots of ways to tune. Clip-on tuner, 5th fret method, harmonics, pedals, the official BassBuzz online bass tuner. It sounds like a lot of options, but really it all boils down to 2 approaches: by ear or with the tuner. Tuning by ear starts with some kind of in-tune reference note, another instrument, another string, the official BassBuzz online bass tuner, and then you use your ear to feel and hear when the string is in tune. But like I said before, tuning by ear is a skill, not a freebie way to get in tune early on. If you're a beginner, you might think you're in tune using this approach, but let's see if your ear is actually sharp enough to know. Here's 2 open A string plucks. They sound kind of the same to most people, but the second one is tuned higher, enough that if you didn't catch the difference, your bass wouldn't really be in tune. Because those 2 notes together sound like this. Hear that wobbly wah wah wub sound? To tune by ear, you have to learn to eliminate that wub wub, and that brings up all kinds of challenges, like you pluck at the wrong time and you get phase cancellation, or you mess up and then you have compounding errors on your other strings. Don't get me wrong, tuning by ear is great. You can totally learn how to do it someday, but as a beginner, you want something easy and consistently reliable. So the best way for you to tune is with a tuner. A tuner hears your note and tells you objectively if you need to adjust the string to get in tune. It's the best way to tune in a loud environment and gives you foolproof tuning until your ears are trained. And the fastest way to get your ears trained, by the way, is to just play along with lots of in-tune music using your in-tune bass, which is why my step-by-step beginner to badass course has you playing music in every single lesson. So it's not just your fingers learning the fundamentals of bass, your ear also develops a natural sense for music. Click the link below or check it out at BassBuzz.com. But what the course doesn't cover is what kind of tuner to buy. They run from cheap to costly, convenient to clunky. What kind will work best for you? This is actually a big deal because a bad tuner won't read your notes well, especially the low strings on the bass, and either you won't get in tune at all, or you'll struggle for way longer than the 1 minute it should take you. There are 4 basic types of tuner. Let's rank them and find the best one. First up, tuner apps. They're mostly free, they're super convenient because you have your pane rectangle in your pocket most of the time, but these just use the mic on your phone to hear your bass notes. So it's the least reliable tuner type, especially for low notes or if you're in a loud room. I'm gonna call these C tier. Fine in a pinch, but not your first choice. You can get better reliability from a clip-on tuner, which clips on to your headstock and hears your notes directly through the vibration of the wood. These are still relatively cheap, plus they're super convenient to stick in your gig bag and don't require any cables. But the most common cheapo brands that everybody buys really suck for bass, again, particularly on the low strings, and I'd rate most of them C tier at best. But a good clip-on that's truly built for bass can reach A tier. All your accuracy woes will be solved with a good pedal tuner, which plugs between your bass and your amp. Buy a legit brand and you'll get killer accuracy, plus a handy mute switch. As a pro, this is a fully S tier tuning option. But a good pedal that's not a knockoff is by far the most expensive kind of tuner, and you really don't need to spend the money if you're not playing on stage a lot. Plus, these complicate your practice setup with more cables, and any added friction runs you the risk of making practice less appealing. So for beginners practicing at home, I'd push these down to B tier. Let's see if the fourth type of tuner can solve any of these problems, the humble plug-in tuner. They're almost as cheap as clip-ons, they're quick and accurate like pedals, plus they often have a metronome bundled in. For the average beginner's practice needs, plug-in tuners are the only S tier by a mile. And with a good tuner in hand, you're ready for possibly the most exciting payoff ever to grace a YouTube video. Suck it, Mr. Beast. You're gonna learn how to actually tune your bass. Even if you picked up your bass for the first time today, you'll be able to rip this out no problem. And it starts with learning the note names of your strings, because you can't tune unless you know what note name to tune to. The names of your bass strings are E, A, D, G. E is the thickest, fattest string that's closest to your face, and it's the lowest sounding. And then A, D, and G is the thinnest string furthest from your face and the highest sounding. E, A, D, G is called standard tuning, which sounds jargony and cool, so you can impress your friends. You can memorize this faster using a mnemonic, like eat and drink grapes. And because I refuse to drink grapes out of a cup ever again, here's a clip from 2019. Those were the days. If you want to know the full story of the musical alphabet and how these notes fit into it, I cover that in my Beginner to Badass course, where we play music in every single— Sorry, force of habit. But actually, check the description for my money notes video, which covers the full alphabet, plus how to find more notes on the bass. And with EADG locked in, you can move on and make sure your tuner settings aren't screwed up. Your tuner should be calibrated to A440. This is the default on basically any tuner, but just make sure a button didn't get mashed. And don't ask why 440 or what that means. It's boring, it involves history, and I forget. And if your tuner has bass mode, I'm gonna blow your mind and suggest that you not use it. It shields you from reality too much, and it only shows you how your string is relating to EADG. In my teacherly opinion, you want chromatic mode, so it shows you all the notes and you can actually see what you're doing. And finally, you can actually tune your bass. Ta-da! Plug your bass into your tuner, turn your volume up, and start by tuning the E string. When you pluck the string, the tuner will hear it and tell you the note name. If it's the right name and the needle is down the center, then yay, you're in tune. If not, you just turn your tuning peg until the note name is right and the needle is centered. So let's get you in tune. And as we tune each string, I'll cover a different tuning troubleshoot so that you don't get stuck when you do this on your own. Okay, E string, let's see what's happening. So we've got the right note name, E, but the needle is showing the note is flat or too low. So I need to tighten the string, which will make the note sound higher and push the needle to the right. You won't know which way to turn until you test it out on your bass. Just make small eighth or quarter turns and see if you're getting closer or further. Okay, so I'm creeping closer to green, and bingo, we're in tune, hooray! Now we rinse and repeat on the A string. What if this string was like way out of tune? Like it's supposed to say A on the tuner, but it actually says B. That's one whole letter off. So to get from B to A, we need to loosen the string to get a lower note, because the musical alphabet goes forward to higher notes and reverse to lower notes. So I'm gonna turn the peg in small eighth or quarter turns to make the string more loose and floppy, which lowers the sound and moves the needle to the left. And now I see a B with a little b after it, which is a theory can of worms that I cover in the Money Notes video. For now, you can just avoid those little b's, keep going, a little further, and there's a clean A, just making small tweaks until it's right in the green. Bam! All right, on to the D string. Okay, so I'm actually seeing a C with a pound sign after it, which is the other theory thing that we avoided. You just need to know we're aiming for a clean D with no little b or pound sign. So to get from C to D, we need to go forwards through the alphabet, which takes us to a higher note, which means making the string tighter and less floppy. So I'm gonna make little turns that make the needle go to the right, makes the string tighter. Okay, I'm on D, but now it's still too low, so I keep turning. Okay, and finally the G string. I'm gonna show you how to avoid the worst thing that can possibly happen when you're tuning, which is snapping a string because you did bad thing. So we know this should be a G, but let's see what we're working with. Okay, it's actually a B with a little b after it, so we're pretty far away. And when you're far away, you might not know if you should go forwards through the alphabet to the next highest G, B, C, D, E, F, G, or down to a lower G by going reverse through the alphabet, B, A, G. because the musical alphabet loops from A to G. Don't worry about it. It's weird. So if you're ever not sure, you can guess by ear, which is easier if you have a reference track like my tuner video. I'll link in the description. But the safest thing to do if you're ever not sure is to just loosen the string when in doubt until it's way floppier than the other strings. Okay, so like this is like a very floppy string now. So there's no way that we need to tune down to a G. Now we definitely need to tune up. So we'll just tighten until we find the note, and you don't risk over tightening and snapping the string, which by the way is possible, but I've only ever done it once in 20 something years of playing bass. So you can totally avoid snapping a string and crying, which is definitely not what I did. So now we're down on E, so we need to keep going forwards, E, F, G. We got to F. Okay, F with a pound sign, keep going, ignore the pound sign, ignore the theory as long as you can. Keep turning, here's a G. Et voilà, c'est fini. And if you're ever tuning on your own and having trouble, just screenshot this mega blast of every tuning issue I've ever heard of in 20 years of teaching and how to fix it. Now that you're in tune, the first thing you should do to start learning bass is not to do an exercise or learn a scale, it's to actually play some music. So here's beginner lesson number 1, which will teach you all the basics plus your first riff. And judging by this comment, it's also a useful study procrastination tool, because who doesn't love that? Man, I really miss putting glitter on poster boards at 2 a.m. for my ancient Mesopotamia homework the day before it was due. It's time well spent, you know?